Welcome back to today's podcast, where we will be discussing the prevalence of eating disorders and whether or not they can be considered a culturally bound syndrome or a worldwide phenomenon. Remember last week's podcast where we talked about what an eating disorder is and where it may come from? I want to first talk about Asia. In Singapore, rates have grown in university students, however, they're still lower than that of Western populations. There was a Trim and Fit program in Asia that was implemented to try and combat childhood obesity, and this may have actually ended in the result of eating disorders. In fact, 11.1% of anorexic patients were part of this TAF, Trim and Fit program. In Japan, after World War II, there were large changes in the family structure. In 1980, there were 1,080 patients diagnosed with an eating disorder. However, in 1981, this number jumped to 1,312 patients. Studies show that 25 to 30% of the population of girls 13 to 29 years old had some sort of eating disorder, and this pattern closely follows that of the United States and European statistics. A lot of psychiatrists in Japan have adopted Western, that is, American and European ways of treatment. In South Korea, 90% of high school girls at a normal weight feel they're overweight. In China, it's a little difficult to get statistics from the mainland. However, from the statistics that I was able to pull, 1 to 2% suffer from bulimia, and 78% voice a fear of gaining weight or becoming fat. There is a large scale of dieting in Chinese adolescents. There could be 3 different reasons for this. It could be because there's a growing problem of childhood obesity, and this dieting could be a way to combat it. It could be due to a consumerist norm for the thin ideal, or it might also be because a more Western diet is available, and that diet is higher in fat and calories than a normal Chinese diet. However, one study that I saw blames social media for the rise of eating disorders in Asia. It is said that social media plays a major role in body dissatisfaction, along with a negative self-perception, and young girls comparing themselves to others in this social media. Facebook, in particular, has provided users with the opportunity for large-scale, constant body comparisons, allowing for a more negative body image. Similarly, Asian cultures such as Hong Kong, China, Japan have shown large levels of the thin ideal that is very present in Western cultures. This thin ideal has been present in East Asia for centuries, and it only allows for a range of body weights, very small range of body weights that are deemed acceptable. Research with China and Japan samples show that women are more affected by this thin ideal rather than males. This thin ideal is associated with media exposure, and it's often associated equally in Asian American and European American females. In addition, strong eating disordered attitudes were reported to be prevalent among females in Chinese societies such as Hong Kong. It states that approximately 80% of Chinese students feared gaining weight or growing fat, and this fear of fatness has resulted in prevalent dieting among Chinese adolescents. Now I kind of want to switch even more globally. So we're going to switch it a bit to, let's talk about Africa. There was a study done with girls from various socioeconomic backgrounds whom all had access to food. There were 600 girls studied, and a small number of girls found to have restricted their diets for various reasons, such as religious reasons, when they were in times of stress, or to have these feelings of self-control. In Zimbabwe, a study was done in 1986 with a mix of Black, white, and mixed-race schoolgirls who were found to have disordered eating. It was found that Black girls had higher rates of disordered eating than their white peers, and this is important for this study, or at least in my opinion, because it shows that eating disorders are as common with Black girls as they are white girls. So that kind of takes away some of the cultural bound idea of eating disorders, because it's mainly toward a Western point of view, and this just kind of goes to show that it's not just these Westerners. In Fiji, for example, the original body type before was often a softer, rounder, heavier look for the female body. However, in 1990, when Western media and TV shows were shown in Fiji, this eating disorder number and statistics just increased exponentially. There was this thin ideal with a drive to lose weight that ended up having a lot of disordered eating behaviors. In Latin America, Chile was the first country to report any signs of eating disorders. There were 30 cases of anorexia in the 1980s. It's argued that because Chile went through a political change with American policies being put in place, that this could have had a rise in the anorexic cases because more American or European ideologies were being put into place, including that thin ideology. However, in Mexico City has also had large issues with eating disorders, primarily among university students. Again, they have a couple of reasons why this might be. It could be because of an increased industrialization and a rapid change of growth of the economy. It could be because, again, obesity is on the rise and there's that fear of gaining weight. Or it could also be just the consumerist culture. Magazines are promoting thinness and weight control with an ideal body shape. In Israel, there was a case study done with ultra-Orthodox Jews. This is really important because mental health carries a severe stigma in ultra-Orthodox communities. People in these communities will often encourage hiding emotional problems and resist seeking psychological treatment to deal with emotional issues. Patients within these communities frequently feel ashamed and guilty if they have psychiatric problems, and they'll often try to find them. A lot of times, a woman's physical appearance is considered very important in that it increases her desirability when it comes to a shidduch, or a match. These matches are often done by two parents in order to get a young man and a young woman married. The potential match value of an adolescent Orthodox girl directly is in proportion with her weight. And a father must pay a significantly higher dowry for a suitable match for his daughter to compensate for any heaviness. Thus, girls in ultra-Orthodox world are significantly occupied with their wage as they approach a matchmaking age. Overall, in my opinion, it would seem that a higher economic society or ones of major growth / industrialization seem to be more at stake for eating disorders. It seems we're a society where their culture is shifting rapidly and women are being introduced to more feministic thoughts while their family is not. They could seek control of their life through food. Most often, eating disorders arise when there is a lack of control in one's life and they seek to take that freedom back. However, this is just my thoughts on disordered eating habits. If you guys have any thoughts on eating disorders are actually just a cultural issue or a worldwide issue, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Thank you so much, and give a like if you like this podcast.